Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Authentic Leadership Podcast. I am your host, Ojany-Bekhor. I work as an executive, wellness, and leadership coach. It's been a while since the podcast was up and running once again, and I'm so excited that this is the first episode that I'm doing. I have with me this time two amazing guests. They are fellow coaches and they are really good friends of mine, Coach Jane Katuga and Coach Carolyne Gaiduma. Hi, ladies. How are you?
Hi, Sissy. Hi, Caroline. Good to see you.
Thank you. Thank you both.
Yeah, good to see you. How are you doing?
Good. Thank you so much to the two of you for agreeing to have this conversation with me. And it is a conversation. For those of you who are listening, Jane, Carolyne, and I have known each other for a few years. We have met, I first met Jane many years ago. Jane attended one of my very first coaching workshops. And I met Carolyne at an event that was run by a mutual friend we have. So we've met through the personal development space, and we have become friends. We have such interesting conversations, such unusual, I would say, conversations. And I had this idea to bring these conversations to the light, to bring these conversations to the public, because I was just thinking to myself, oh my gosh, people need to hear what we're talking about. What we're talking about might really help somebody else the way it helps us when we're talking to one another. So this is the first in a series of conversations. Right now, I'm thinking there'll be 7 conversations. We're going to be covering some deep topics. Today's topic is purpose. Why are we here? The next conversation will be around parenting. We're going to look at the birth family. We're going to look at failure, intimate relationships, death, joy. These kinds of topics are what I just want the world to hear our thoughts and experiences about. So let's get right into it. Actually, before we start the conversation, let me just share with all those of you who are going to be listening to this. We are all adults. This is an adult conversation. Jane, Carolyne, and I are certainly not preaching to you. We are not insisting that you agree with what we say. We would just love for you to have a listen, see what it brings up inside of you, see what you think about what we're saying, and hopefully what we are saying will give you some insights or help you in some kind of way. Take what you want from this conversation, discard what you want from this conversation. That is totally okay with us. Great, let's get right into it. Let me start with you, Jane. What do you do? How do you do it? And who do you do it with?
Thank you so much, Sissy and Caroline, for sharing this space with me. First, I want to start off by saying how grateful I am for the meaningful friendship that we share and the authentic space we create for one another to be real. That's not something that happens all the time. I'm really, grateful for that. And this is one of those spaces, and I'm excited to be here today. So what do? I am a life and wellness coach. I run sessions, and how I do my session is about challenging people to own their thought processes and the actions they take. In my coaching, I bring to focus that in life, there are events and then there are stories. And we get to see how our stories, the stories we tell about the events that happen around us, how they affect us, how they impact us, how they stop us. And what I'm able to do as I go through my own personal journey to realize the stories that I've been carrying, I'm able to help my clients start to see how they get stopped by the things they create roundabout the events that happen in their lives. Yeah, so That's who I am as a coach. I work with different kinds of people. I work with corporates. I work with individuals. I work with schools. I work with colleges. Basically, I'm available to help people see another way of doing life without being held back by their stops. Hope
I
that's good enough,
I
Sissy.
love that. Thank you so much for that, Jane. And you've certainly had a lot of adventures
Mm.
in your work. I know you and I have talked a lot about how, for example, we get to travel thanks to the work that we do and get to meet so many different people, which we really enjoy doing. Hard to be
Yes.
a coach if you don't enjoy meeting different people and hearing their stories.
Mm.
Thank you so much,
Yeah.
Jane. What about you, Caroline? What do you do? How do you do it? And who do you do it with?
Wow, thank you. Thank you, Cece. And thank you, Jane, for just sharing this space with me. And it's such an honor to bring these conversations to the light, as you said, because we've had very many conversations that are transformative. I really, really, I feel privileged and blessed to have a friendship with you guys because it's really like having free coaching all the time.
Exactly.
So
Yes.
what do I do? Yeah, so what do I do? I'm a transformation coach and I see myself as a midwife and I help people birth new identities. That's the closest I can explain what I do. Um, I I am of the idea that the only thing standing between you and your challenge or you and your goal is a new you. And so a new you means a new thought process, a new emotional pattern, a new way of seeing yourself. And so in my process, I help people step into a new way of being by first of all becoming aware of how they have been and how that state of being has given them the results that they have currently so that they can see what to change about their own self-perception. So in a nutshell, that's what I do. So I use a couple of methods. Some of them I have no name for because
Yeah,
I,
very
I flow with the
intuitive.
moment.
Yeah,
Yeah, very intuitive. It's very in the moment, and but it's conversational,
yes,
and a little bit of energy work is also there. So
yeah.
that's who I am, and that's what I do.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing that. And for the benefit of those who are listening and will listen in the future, I should say that no two coaches are the same. No two coaches are the same. Jane, Caroline, and I are all Kenyan women, African women. We all work in the same industry, but our clients all have a different experience. It's very, very important that you resonate with your coach and their style. Um, Thank you so much for those wonderful introductions, ladies, of yourselves. Very, very powerful. So today the question is purpose. Why are we here? And it's such, the word purpose is such a big word. Of course, we're not the first people to have this kind of conversation, but we have perspectives that I believe others will find interesting. So let me start with you, Caroline. This word purpose, what is it in your experience? What is it in your humble opinion?
Um, oh, this is something that has really been a theme in my life. So it has meant
Yeah,
different things at different times in my life.
yeah,
So at some point, it meant the work that I am meant to do. So I was looking for that at some point in my life. What work am I supposed to do? What am I
yeah,
supposed to do with my life? You know? And
yeah,
then I moved from that to service. And I felt, it's what I'm supposed to share with the world and how I'm supposed to share it. So it sort of added to that, so it's the work that I'm supposed to do, yes, but then it's also service.
yeah,
But then at this season of my life, it's really about something bigger, you know. And so for me, the question has been, so where is the most accurate place to look for my purpose? And so for me, it's been about going back to my source, because, I see, like, if you find an equipment, you need a manual from the one who made it so that you can know what it was made for and how it functions best. So for me now, that's the season I'm in right now, is going back to source to find out, why was I created in the first place, and what is an efficient way to define purpose? Because I've felt like the previous ways I've defined it are kind of limited.
Yeah, yeah, I hear what you're saying. I hear what you're saying, and there's a lot of commonalities that you and I have, because even me in my 20s, I can tell you purpose was about my job. Purpose was about my job. And now I look back and I'm like, wow, that's really limited. Because especially for women, if your purpose is about your job, you get stuck when you have kids, because now there's this other thing happening in your life that's not related to your job. So I realized that particularly for women, there can be a lot of conflict when you become a mom, and all three of us are moms. There can be conflict when you become a mom if your purpose was your job. But more on that later. And I'm going to also just come back to you, Carolyne, and ask you to give us a bit more info about what you mean by source. What about you, Jane? This word purpose, it's a big word. What is it in your experience, your opinion?
Thank you, Sissy, for that question. It has been just like Carolyne, it has been very many things. And throughout my life, it's been changing. It's been presenting itself very differently.
Yeah.
Yes, like you, it was my job. What do I do? Then I get into this marriage, then what? It seems to have changed.
Yeah.
Then toys come and I'm like, what? The children are here now. So where does this purpose, what role does it play? And how is it all unfolding? It's too much. It's everything is demanding of it.
Yeah.
And it's not until recently that I started really asking myself, because now that I don't have any of that competing with what I am doing, now that my children are adults, I'm wondering, okay, so that where does that leave me? Was that all the meaning there was? For me now, I've begun to ask, is purpose about the meaning to my life? Was that all there was? Now they don't need me. So what is there? And I'm now beginning to get to that space where I feel like my real purpose is to experience life.
Yeah.
My real purpose is to just experience all there is in my life, the good, the bad, the ugly, and really see what there is for me to learn and again to share. Because as I experience this life, there's something I bring forth, there's something somebody else brings forth. Really experiencing life to the full.
Yeah.
Because I think I had lost myself in creating a certain meaning. And when that meaning, sometimes I didn't feel like I fulfilled it. I felt like I was failing in it. And now that I'm coming to this space where I'm saying it's really just to experience life. That's the purpose of my life. It's just to really experience life. And in experience, there's so many other things that come into play, like what I do in life, like who I interact with, all those things. But really, and how I look at it is, there was meant to be a meaning. If there was meant to be a real purpose, why didn't it show up when we were born? Because I go back to children. What's their purpose of life? My God, they are fully in life, just experiencing every moment and every day.
Yeah.
And not caught up on what, where, how, when. They're just in that space.
How am I going to get clients? You're 2 years old.
Oh, sorry, girl.
You're 3.
Yeah, no, you will. Yeah.
Wow, that's really, really deep. That's really, really deep, Jane. And again, just for the purposes of those who are listening and those who will listen, I promise you, Jane, Caroline, and I have not rehearsed this conversation. Um,
Mm.
I actually shared with the ladies that I didn't want us to prepare to do dry runs or anything like that, um, because I trust that this is just going to be a conversation that flows. And why I'm laughing is because it looks like it sounds like we've all come to a similar place. For
Mm.
me, as I said, purpose was about my job. Purpose was about achieving. And that is because that was the message I got from my parents. And
Mm.
I love my parents. My parents are remarkable human beings. But later on, I realized, hang on a second, what was a super duper important priority for my folks might not necessarily be a priority for me. And that makes total sense because you're living in different times and you're not your parents. You're not your siblings, you're not your friends, you're you. I'm me. And so in my 20s, as I'm struggling to achieve, and I say struggle because the achievement carrot, it's a never-ending thing. It's like a black hole that you can fall into because there's always more to achieve, right?
Mm.
So I'm in my 20s. I'm working on achieving. I'm having some wins. I'm having some losses. And like so many people, I just get tired. And I remember calling a friend of mine, her name is Saf, and just having a conversation about, hey, I think I need to talk to someone. And it's not a therapist necessarily. It's I didn't even know what a coach was back in the time, back in the days. But I just said, I just want to talk to somebody to help me figure out some stuff. And she introduced me to my very first coach. And that started me on my personal development journey in my late 20s. Actually, no, I started my personal development journey reading books and consuming free content from people like Wayne Dyer, et cetera, et cetera. And my personal development journey began in my 20s, but in my late 20s, I got a coach. So then purpose for me became about personal development. It became about growth, right? Now,
Mhm.
fast forward some years later, I get married, I have my daughter, and now it's exactly what you said, Jane. Like, whoa, wait, there's now this other stuff.
Mm.
And I'm going to ask you ladies about dealing with challenges in a moment. But for me, my quote unquote purpose, what I had assigned as my purpose, not quickly, suddenly got derailed when I had a miscarriage. And I've shared about this publicly, like on platforms like Engage. And during that week when I lost the pregnancy, I was at a crossroads and I was like, whoa, what is life about? And I remember one of my teachers, my spiritual teachers, saying to me, Cece, you focus so much on work, but here is something your brilliant mind cannot help you with. And some people hear that and they're like, whoa, your coach slapped you with that. And I was like, yeah, because we have that kind of relationship. When you've known a coach or a teacher for a long time, they don't beat about the bush, as we
Yes.
all know. And
Yeah.
but that was the slap I needed because she reminded me, she was like, Sissy, when it comes to health, when it comes to things like having children, logic, your brilliant mind suddenly fails you. Now, if your brilliant mind has been such a big part of your purpose, you're left holding ashes. You're like, oh, shoot, let's regroup. And
Mm.
so purpose started encompassing, oh my God, all the life outside of work stuff, like prioritizing that stuff. I started saying things like, I started believing and saying things like, you know, having fun is also something that I would like to be part of my purpose. And like you say, Jane, experiencing life. And now again, fast forward all these years later, and I'm at the same place where I'm like, oh my God, I believe we're here to have an experience. We're here to have an experience. And that definition of purpose resonates with me personally because I feel it captures everything. Because you see, if purpose is about achievement, you'll fall down when you fail, and life includes failures. If purpose is about, well, you're supposed to get married and have kids, well, what about all the people in the world who don't want to get married and don't want to have kids? You know, if purpose is about being useful, that was the other thing, being useful. I mean, a 2-year-old is not quote unquote useful, but they bring so much joy and fulfillment into the lives of their parents, their aunties, their uncles, their godparents. And
Yeah.
so there are all these, and language is limiting. Language is so limiting. And so now for me, purpose is this. I'm here to have an experience, you know, and here's the
Whatever
thing.
that experience is.
Whatever that experience is, it includes the pleasant stuff and the unpleasant stuff. Oh, and that reminds me, at some point, I also thought purpose is about being happy. You know, don't let stuff bring you down, da, 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 da. But that requires a lot of energy, effort, and also, as you and I have spoken about, Caroline, especially, it denies the gems, this thing of your purpose is to be happy, your purpose is to be fulfilled, your purpose, it denies the gems we get from the yucky moments. You know what I mean? It's so deep. It's so deep. Let me come back to you, Caroline. You use the word source, coming back to source. What does that mean? Because again, ladies, we have our own language, and coaches can tend to have their own language, but let's just make sure we're sharing with the audience the meaning of words as we use them. You said it's about source.
Yes. I mean, as a coach, I have learned to use language that is inclusive because, you know, a lot of the times you're dealing with so many people. So source for me is what a lot of people might call God or the universe.
Yeah.
Wherever it is that you believe we came from or you came from.
Yeah.
And so for me, what has graduated in me as far as purpose is concerned, I see this as an analogy. So, and I like to speak in analogies, and Sissy and Jane, you might have noticed that a lot.
Yeah.
Because it helps me to process and understand stuff. So imagine your child is learning how to write, right?
Yeah.
So you hold their hand and you're writing, you're helping them write on a paper, you're holding their hand, and their hand is holding the pencil and they're writing. So for me, that is an image that comes to me when it comes to purpose. So I'm the child and I'm writing, but am I really the one writing?
Oh, wow.
So I'm writing.
Yeah.
I'm writing for whoever is holding my hand. And I'm writing what they want me to write, and I'm surrendering to their direction. Because if I hold my hand stiffly, the experience will be different. If I surrender, then I'll learn easily because I'm allowing myself to be guided. So I feel from my own experience that my purpose is to surrender to the one who is living my life, because really it's not even mine.
I love that.
It's an experience that I'm having because someone else is having that experience through me. So I'm in service basically, and I'm in service to source, to God, to the universe. And that's my purpose. My purpose is to be in service to that. And that's why for me, presence is very important. Detachment is very important because it shapes
Detachment.
how I experience the experience.
Did you say, you said presence is important and detachment is important?
Exactly. So that it's not my. I can surrender and zoom out
Yeah.
and begin to see what, because I'm also an observer of my life. I'm also a beneficiary of my life.
Yeah.
If I step back and observe, I can learn so much from my life.
Yeah. Yeah.
But when I'm so attached into everything that's happening, and I'm thinking I'm controlling everything. I'm thinking I'm shaping stuff. I'm thinking I'm creating results. Then the experience changes.
Yeah.
Wow. Sissy, can I jump in here? I'm
Yes.
hearing something so powerful right there. And Caroline, thank you so much for sharing. Because then what I'm hearing, and you could correct me if I'm wrong, is that purpose can then be very individualistic and very narrow because we are all a piece of life.
Yes.
So if we are a piece of life, then is to allow ourselves to experience what every other life is bringing, because we're all just a piece of life.
Exactly.
Wow. Wow. Thank you.
And so it's like if you look at an organ in the body, you can define its purpose by what it does. So, for example, the heart, the purpose of the heart is to beat, pump blood, and all those things it does. But overall, underneath that, its purpose is to surrender to the mind, because it's the mind that is controlling it. Because if it doesn't surrender to the mind, then it will not even be able to pump the blood, to take the instruction.
Yeah, there's something else going on. There's something else going on. There's something else.
There are many layers.
Yeah, there are many layers. That's the thing. I love what you're saying, Caroline, because one of the questions I like asking people is, do you know anyone whose life has turned out exactly the way they wanted? Because mine hasn't.
But we don't take the cue, do we? We keep thinking that we can make it what we want. Like we've not learned. We haven't gotten the memo.
So let's pause. Let's pause here for the sake of the listeners. Let's pause here because let's look at this for a second. I never in my wildest dreams, first of all, thought I would be married to an Australian, for example. I mean, all I knew about Australia was Aussie Rules football because of this sports program that used to show up, this sports program that used to be shown on TV, Gillette World Sports Special. And I would see Aussie Rules football and I'd be like, oh, that's all I knew about Australia. I knew kangaroos, Aussie Rules football. I had a crush on Australian tennis players like Pat Rafter. That's all I knew. Before I know it, I've moved to Australia at 19 and I'm on this whole other adventure. And I've met and married an Australian. Another example, I never in my wildest dreams thought I would be working as a coach. I actually thought I would spend my whole life in corporate. And so it's things like this, when you actually reflect and look back, you realize something else has always been at play. You talk about the hand, the hand that's guiding the child as the child is learning how to write. That's really deep, and there's a gem there for the listeners. There's a lot of gems we're going to drop, so please listen to this more than once. Now, Jane, you had said something really interesting. You had attached a certain meaning to your life when you were someone's wife, when your kids were younger, and you lost yourself in creating a certain meaning. Can you share more about that?
Yes, I can. Now, growing up, there were always hints being dropped around about what it means to be a good wife, what it means to be a good mother,
what it means to be a good woman.
what it means to be a good woman. So I didn't know any better, so I grabbed onto that. So when I move into these spaces, now I know this is my purpose. At this point, this is what I need to be doing. But there was always a contradiction because I also wanted to excel in my job. And I was finding that, you know, if I'm excelling in my job, something is struggling, either my marriage or my children. There was always that. And it was almost, yes, it's almost like finding a balance was just one of those things that I could never do. You know, I'm rushing here, and rushing here. And this was supposed to be my life's purpose, to be that good woman, to be that woman who was able to do this, to present this to the family. So there was a major struggle there, you know, and it went right through until my children now finished school. And I'm like, okay, there's even a point I asked myself, did I do it well? Did I do it right? Did I succeed in it? You know, and that can be very disheartening for any person going through such a thing, wondering whether they did it right. But it's right according to whose standards, according to whose measure. There was always that question. And it's not until I started immersing myself in the personal development work that I started now asking different questions. You know, did I do it right? Now that stopped happening. And I started asking, in fact, because that was now me living in my past, because I was always asking, did I? And now it's, can I do something different right now, right here? Who can I be for my children right now, right here, whether they're adults or not? So that started changing. And I got to see that I had for a very long time been stuck in my psychological structure and never quite enjoying life's process.
Yeah, you got stuck in how it should be. Is that correct?
I know it should be.
Yeah.
And you know how it should be comes from our limited data that we have collected over time.
Yeah.
And then our thoughts and our emotions become more important than life. So that's where we are caught up in that. And there's a lot of guilt, there's a lot of remorse, there's a lot of all those things.
Yeah.
But when I started going through my personal development work, now different questions started now arising. And I started giving up all that. It's a lot of work. I'm not going to say to somebody, it comes and, you know, it's over, you know, it just happens by one question. No, it's a lot of work. And I'm still doing the work.
Treat.
We never get done, guys.
It never gets done. You know,
never gets done.
It never gets done.
It was like a trap that I was in.
Yeah.
And the interesting thing about these traps we create in life, we always have a door. So we step out a bit and then we come back, but we live more in the trap. So yes, there was a lot of struggle. But now,
oh, sorry, Jane, carry on. But now I'm able to see, even when I get into that sort of a trap, I'm able to recognize it, not fight it, just recognize it and recognize it for what it is. And I'm able to really coach myself or get someone to coach me out of that kind of a situation. But the recognizing, you know, the ability to see what it is that I'm trapped in has really, really helped. Yeah.
But those psychological structures, they did me in.
And that's the trap. That's the trap, right? You know, it's this, Caroline, please don't lose your train of thought, because I knew this would happen. We're talking over each other, but this, listeners, this is just how the three of us are. Thank you.
Yes.
The trap is, I like how you're saying the psychological constructs.
Yes.
Because for a lot of people, well, let me be very careful how I say this.
Yes.
For all of us, I will say, it's what's going on in your mind.
Yes.
Right? It's what's going on in your mind. It's the thoughts you're having, the beliefs you're having, the stories and narratives you have constructed.
Yes.
Because, I mean, guys, we've all coached very wealthy people. but they will still say, I'm struggling with this. Am I good enough? Da, 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 da.
Yeah.
I remember very early on in my coaching practice, I coached somebody who was, and these were early days, making $100,000 a year and still feeling like there's not enough money, there's not enough da da da. And that was a real eye opener for me, right? Because again, at some point, we all think that, listen, it's about making a lot of money. And listen, money is nice, money is helpful, etc., but we can all get very caught up in that, right?
Yeah.
Just to be clear, there's some people who will listen to this and go, okay, yes, it's in my mind, but some of us are going through actual physical pain, actual physical poverty, etc. Like it's very real in the material world, the challenges they are facing. And we don't want to come across as those quote unquote hippies who are unaware of this, because that's not who we are. But so much of it is in the mind. And it's like, I think I've said this to both of you during different conversations. There's a picture, I don't know if many people have seen this image of somebody's back is to us, and there's a gate, and they're holding the gate. Like at first it appears that they can't get out of wherever they're trying to get out of, because there's a padlock. But if you look closely at the picture, the padlock isn't actually latched. And this is what happens in life. We get so caught up, particularly in our thoughts and our beliefs and our catastrophizing, that we don't realize to look down and go, hang on, the padlock is not actually latched. Like, I don't need a key. The key is not with someone somewhere. Like, I just need to turn the padlock, get it out, and walk out of the door. Right? So it's really quite fascinating. My dad, just really quickly, my dad grew up in very, very humble circumstances. And by the time my dad passed away, he had lived such a full, rich life. He was a professor at the University of Nairobi. He had traveled the world. He's had 8 kids, 6 with my mom. And for me, my dad is an example of one of those people who, even when the situation is physically quite tough, his mentals got him out. His mentals got him out. And I don't know if my siblings would agree, but for me, I don't recall my dad ever whinging and whining about how hard life is and how tough life is. Like, he just got on with it. So I use my dad as an example of someone who, even when the situation is physically quite tough, it's your thoughts and your beliefs that can help you navigate. It sounds so easy, but of course it's not easy. Carolyne, I hope you haven't lost your train of thought. What did you want to say in response to what Jane just mentioned?
It's actually it also is very relevant to what you're saying, because Jane was talking about a psychological structure.
Yeah.
About this checklist that we come across and we subconsciously begin ticking it off.
Yeah.
Because as we are growing up, the external is defining us a lot, because we have not been shown to turn inward. But then what I do and what I really...
Oh, Carolyne, you've muted yourself by mistake. Carolyne, are you still there? Okay, I think Carolyne's muted herself by mistake. Hopefully she'll come back.
Yeah.
Jane, I'll get Carolyne to continue her train of thought. Jane, let me ask you this. Oh, Carolyne, you're back.
Okay, she's back.
I'm back.
You had muted yourself. Please take it from the top. You had muted yourself.
Oh, okay. I think a call was coming in. So I was saying that I like to encourage my clients to see it like this, and I would encourage anyone listening to us to see it like this. Whatever it is that your experience is, how you're defining it, the story you're telling yourself about it, like Jane was saying, you are inferring to yourself about who you are. So in a sense, you're defining yourself.
Yeah.
And that can be limiting or can be expanding. So many times when we define our situations in a negative way, if I may put it like that, we are limiting who we are. And that changes our experience. Because who you are is going to determine what you think you're here for, or that experience is for. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Well, it makes sense to us, but maybe just elaborate for the listeners.
So, for example, you don't have money.
Yeah.
And you begin to tell yourself stories about that. So the event is that your wallet is empty, for example.
Yeah.
But then you tell yourself a story, probably about the economy, probably about your upbringing, probably about your future, probably about your past. So when you think about all those stories you're telling yourself, the question to ask yourself then is, if this is my story, then who am I? Because that's what your subconscious mind picks. It makes the conclusion. So it means, for example, that I am defined and limited by the economy of the country, for example.
Yeah.
So how do you show up in the world as somebody who is limited and defined by the country's economy? Of course, there are limited opportunities. So that's the experience you begin to have.
Yeah.
Because you have defined yourself as this is, you have inferred, your mind has picked up that this is who you are. So it begins to create and give you experiences according to how you define yourself.
Yeah, that's so true. And it's really interesting because I was having at the time of this recording, Kenya has just had an election, and it's like people are collectively holding their breath, waiting to see what happens. And I was chatting to a client of mine just last week, and like so many Kenyans, he was like, let's wait and see. And I said to him, what exactly are you waiting for?
to see?
What exactly are you waiting for? And then the next question is, why are you pausing your life? And that your whatever it is you and your team want to achieve, what exactly are you waiting for? And we had a laugh about it because I said, this is Kenya, man. There's always something going on.
And it never stops.
Forever.
It never stops. There's always something going on that if you grab onto, you will convince yourself, no, I should pause and wait and see. And then, and here's the thing, we then get confused about why other people are progressing.
Yes.
Because it's like, wait, hang on a second. Like, why are other people progressing and I'm not progressing? And there are many reasons why. But one of them is that, no, let's wait and see. And he and I had this really interesting conversation. And I was saying to him, you know what, after this session, can you set up a meeting to chat with your team members about it? Because this wait and see thing, again, you're like that person holding the gate, feeling trapped, but you haven't down and noticed that the padlock isn't latched. The padlock listeners, listen up. The padlock isn't latched.
Isn't locked. And the other thing, Sissy, also to ask, I asked someone this question just about the elections, and I know it's a very emotive subject, so I'm not going to dwell on it, but I'm just going to say something I said. So the ones who said, you've won, what have you won? And the ones that said you lost, what have you lost? Because when you start from there, it starts to give you a perspective. Like you're saying, let's wait and see. It's a
Yeah, it
country.
changes your experience, how you
It's our
define anything.
how
Yeah.
it's your experience, how you define that experience will determine how you move on. Here
Yeah.
we are. It's a country. It's not about one person. Okay, so one person might get to the helm, but we have to move collectively. Whichever way you look at it, we have to move. And I like that one of saying, let's wait and see. What are we waiting to see?
Yeah.
And when we get caught in judging the moment, just that moment, judging the moment, we actually lose out on any opportunity to learn or to see what opens up for us thereafter.
Yeah.
When we
To
judge that
see,
moment.
to see what opens up, to see
Yes.
what opens up. And this doesn't mean we don't feel emotions. We do feel
No, we do.
allowing yourself to feel the anxiety, the nervousness,
Yes.
some of us are anxious, some of us are just cruising along like we there is what election.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And we've had a laugh about this with each of you, how, because this is something a lot of people don't understand. There's no such thing as reality. There's no singular reality. We are
Yes.
all in different realities. And never, like the examples I love sharing with clients, it's gonna get old pretty fast, but having clients, and I'm sure you two also had clients who during the pandemic told you this has been the best year of my life. So for me, I remember saying to other clients, I'm like, listen, by the way, it's not true that this is a horrible time. Some people are singing and sailing in all kinds of ways. So that thing also confuses a lot of people. There is no singular reality. We are
Yeah.
all in different realities.
Mm.
But here's the thing: I don't want us to get too off track.
Yes.
Because I did want to ask you ladies this. So you've shared your definition of purpose, which we know could change tomorrow because we are choosing to experience life as it's happening. What brought you to this particular place? I know for me, it's been a number of things. Like I said earlier, being really fatigued and tired with the achievement game in my 20s, that made me alter my definition of purpose. Having a miscarriage altered my definition of purpose. Becoming a mom altered my definition of purpose. There've just been a whole bunch of things, slaps in the face from the universe, God, whatever you want to call it, that have altered my definition of purpose. And really, if I incorporate what you said earlier, Jane,
Yes.
it was the smashing, the breaking down of those psychological constructs.
Yes.
Which at the time feels like absolute crap, but later on you're like, thank God that happened because I'm so glad I'm where I am now. Yeah. I would
Yes.
love to hear, like from you, Caroline, what brought you here to this, to how you look at purpose? What's your experience? What's your life journey been? And please just share only what you're comfortable to share.
Yeah. Gosh, it's been a series. I call them initiations, to be honest, because I see this as a it's like a soul journey. That's what I see. Like my soul is having this human experience to initiate me into higher perspectives of life, of what life is and what it's all about. So I have been through a series of those, and I think my biggest one was going through depression. I had a very, dark season of my life. I became psychotic. I was admitted in a psychiatric ward. I was heavily medicated. And I remember a certain point when I stopped the medication, because I just stopped the medication cold turkey. I wouldn't advise anyone to do that, but that's what I did. And I feel like I just woke up. I woke up in this space where I was like, I'm tired. I'm tired of that life, that rat race. I'm not going to do that anymore. And I remember actually making a loud, audible, it wasn't even a prayer. It was like ultimatum I was giving God, because I was like, I am not moving out of this house. I'm not going to go out and do anything until I know why you created me. Because I'm not gonna run around my life trying to figure that out. You come here and you tell me. That was something that I said out loud.
Yeah.
And for me, that was like the turning point of my life, because everything shifted from there. I began to connect with, people like Wayne Dyer, Eckhart Tolle,
Yeah.
Doreen Virtue, these people who've been speaking, even some Oprah interviews. In fact,
Yes.
I bought her book, Wisdom for Sundays, and it's full of wisdom and full of this kind of teachings about purpose, about life,
Yeah.
about fulfillment. And so it's like the universe or God just sent stuff my way to just guide me into having this perspective that I have today. So that's been my journey.
That's really powerful. And we'll come back to that, of course, because it's like an onion. There's so many layers. This thing of I'm tired tends to be the start of the initiation. A person gets tired. They've tried everything, they've
Yeah.
done everything, particularly the sort of people we coach, huh? People
Yeah.
who are achieving, they're doing things with their lives. You
Yeah.
always keep coming back to a point of, oh my God, I'm tired, or oh my God,
Yes.
this isn't working. And I've
Mm.
actually made peace with that. I think as long as
Mhm.
you're alive, you're gonna keep coming back to this place.
Yes.
It's
It
the
will look
precursor for
different.
change.
Yeah, it will
It
look
is.
Yeah.
different. It will look different
Mm.
every time, but you always
Mm.
come back to this. No,
Right
I
there.
didn't say come back. You always come to a place of what I'm doing isn't working
Yeah.
anymore.
Yes.
Let me say it that way. What I'm doing
Yeah.
isn't working anymore. And that's
Mm.
something I would hope our listeners can really grasp. It doesn't mean you're doing anything wrong. It doesn't mean, oh gosh, look, you've screwed up again. No, this
Mm.
is how the game of life is designed.
Yeah.
You're going to get slapped by the universe or God or source over and over again so that you can change slash have an experience slash whatever you want to call it. Now, I know people who say, see, it's not slaps from the universe, it's hugs. So
Tight hugs.
pick
Tight
your
hugs.
pick your language, it's fine.
Yeah.
Not me, I'm a Kichwangumu. And for those who don't speak Kiswahili, I'm a hard head. So I need to get slapped. Some of us need hugs. What
Yeah.
about you, Jane? What brought you here? What were your hugs slash slaps from the universe?
Okay. Sissy, my language is not hugs because it didn't feel like that at that time.
Exactly.
No, I will not even pretend. And mine got to a point, Caroline was tired. I was tired of being tired.
Wow.
Yes, this elusive place that I needed to get to, that needed to happen. I needed to get there to feel a certain way. It was so elusive. I did everything I needed to do in that particular area of my life, but it never felt like I was getting there. Not that I know where there was, but it never felt like I was getting there. It was just chase after chase after chase after chase, playing different roles based on what I feel I need to survive at any given time. I was just, gosh, I was everything. I think I was grabbing onto everything until I got to a space after some coaching where I realized I am not who I think I am. I am not who you think I am. I am who I think you think I am.
Say that
Can
again.
I say that again?
Yeah.
I am not who I think I am. I am not who you think I am. I am who I think you think I am. So that's when I got to the realization, whose life was I leading?
Yeah.
Certainly not mine.
Yeah.
It was everybody else's. Again, the construct. I was teaching those ones. This is what is expected of this person. At this point in my life, I need to have passed this. I need to have done this. I needed to have achieved this. I was doing all that. And I can tell you, it's so exhausting.
Yeah.
It is so exhausting because none of them seems to land anywhere. There's always another layer to move to. There's always this. Oh, I've gotten here now. I think I should be celebrating. No, not yet. Next. So I was constantly moving. If you look at most of us, we are moving. If you ask us where we are going to, we don't even know.
Yeah.
And it's always like a rush. Until my coach told me, stop right there. Where are you always rushing to? Where is this that you always want to get to?
Yeah.
And it was such a, what? I'm always in a rush. What? I'm always getting somewhere. Jane, you're hardly ever in the present. You never know you never enjoy what's happening now. You're always looking at what's supposed to happen next. Of course, driven by what did not happen in your past.
Yeah.
So playing all those different roles became so exhausting. I came down.
And what were those roles, Jane? Wife, mother, coach, businesswoman?
There was all that, and even more is what I needed to do at any particular scenario. You see, even as a coach, at some point, I needed to be this person. I felt like I was there meant to save people.
Right.
Really?
Yes, got you.
And I'd even taken on that role, giving unsolicited advice at some point, butting in when I need not to, until I came to the realization, wait a minute, whose life am I saving? Who died and made me God? Come on, I'm right here, needing to work on my own life, not on someone else's. And once I start working on mine, I can share the experiences I've had with someone else in my coaching practice. But those roles were so, I took on different roles.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sounds like, and please correct me if I'm wrong.
Yes.
Sounds like underlying all of that was the need to be good. To be a good girl.
Good girl and accepted.
Yeah, wow. Oh my God, accepted.
Good girl and accepted.
Yeah.
So at one point when I lost my job and also break up in my marriage at the same time, right at the same time, I thought everything that I knew in life, everything that identified me.
Yeah.
Because it's all about identity. Everything that identified me was taken away.
Oh, wow.
I crashed. I crashed. Not only did I go through depression, I had 7 other diseases in my body that I needed to deal with.
Yeah.
But as I went through my coaching, just like Carolyne, Coach Carolyne, I also one day went cold turkey with my medication, dumped it and said, you know what? Right. There are 2 things. I'm either going to get out of this or going to go down with this. I don't know which will happen. Thankfully, I got out of it, and that's why I'm here to share this. But it's important. Those are the roles we are taking on. Oh, I need to be seen this because I'm a marketing manager of this organization. I have to be seen like this. I even dress not because this is how I want to dress, because this is how it's expected. Oh, those roles were just too many.
Yeah.
And they were drowning me. Yeah. And I'm not saying people should not dress up. Oh, no. Listen to me. It's not about that. It's about
the why. Why are you doing what you're doing? And if we link it to what Carolyne is saying, don't lose your train of thought, Jane. Don't lose your train of thought. I was just going to say quickly, if we link it to what Carolyne said earlier, it's who's directing you. Anxiety, your fears, but anyway, carry on, Jane. Please carry on.
My car was not being driven by me. That's for sure.
Yeah.
And by the way, I had so many people in my head, in my mind.
Yeah.
You know, when my coach first told me, Jane, you need to give eviction notice to all these people who live in your mind, I was like, huh? Huh? Eviction notice to who lives in my mind? Oh my God. Until I started now going through one by one.
Society in general.
Yes. Oh, there are so many people.
And we take on their voices. We take on their voices. So at some point it becomes you're doing it to yourself. We've all been there. We've all been there. You're doing it to yourself. Carry on, Jane.
Yeah, so when I got to that point of being tired,
yeah,
I surrendered, and I didn't know it was called surrender, by the way. I wouldn't lie to you.
Yeah.
But I reached a point where I couldn't do it anymore.
Yeah.
I didn't have the energy, I didn't have the capacity, I just didn't know. And I didn't even know how to get out of it, but I just stopped. And I remember walking into my coach's office and I cried and I just said, I don't know what to do. I don't know how to go about this.
Yeah.
I am just so exhausted.
Stop
I don't sleep well. I don't eat well. I'm just feeling like I'm being torn. I felt like every part of me was being pulled by a different thing or different person.
Yeah.
You know, but the body didn't belong to me. It belonged to everything else except me.
Yeah.
And thankfully, I was able to get someone who was able to work with me. So really, this coaching does help. I can say that.
For sure. We've all been coachees as well.
Yes.
I believe it's really important for anyone who gets a coach to just check if that coach is receiving coaching as well. You know, this thing of being accepted, being a good girl, identity. For me, I'm not saying any of those things are bad, because nothing is bad. Like even in my coaching practice, I do away with words like good, bad, wrong, right, and I just ask, is it working? Is it working
Same here.
you? And it's not so none of it is bad. It's just that thing of, it's just that realization of it's not working.
Yes.
So, for me, one of the things, and it's so interesting how even too much of a good thing becomes poisonous. Because it's great to be there for other people. It's great, you know, the work we do is very rewarding. I know the two of you feel the same way I do. But too much of a good thing, even success, too much of a good thing becomes poisonous. And so it becomes, and for me, this has been my journey the last few years. It's become about integrating the allness, if I can invent a word, the allness of life. And by allness, I mean the allness, the awesome stuff, the stuff that feels like crap. And I'd love for us to talk about that. Challenges. It took me a really long time, ladies, to accept that life is going to have challenge after challenge after challenge. There's no such thing as nailing this thing called life. And it took me a really long time to accept that, because for me, I thought, no, it's about problem solving. And once you solve problems, and I was solving so many of my own problems, helping my clients solve their problems. And of course, life becomes more pleasant, but there is a challenge up ahead with your name on it. It took me so long to accept that, but now I've accepted that. And it becomes about taking a deep breath, like, okay, what is this challenge about? What is it here to teach me? But more importantly, just being in the challenge. So for example, during the COVID pandemic, I carried on with work. Like because I'm strong at problem solving, and I had been working remotely for years. So that also wasn't an issue. However, and this is the challenge that had my name on it, at the end of 2020, like so many busy professionals, I burnt out at the end of 2021. I burnt out. I was just like, oh my gosh. And I remember I went to Cape Town with my husband, my daughter, and some lovely friends, and I just felt fried. I just felt fried from the inside out, developed a hormonal issue, which I'm recovering from slowly. But you see, that's another challenge that popped up that had my name on it. And so this is something that it really trips up a lot of people. I remember when, Vishen Lakiani, the founder of Mind Valley Academy, the day he announced that he's getting a divorce. Sorry, conscious uncoupling. That's the word they
Yes, that's what he calls it. Yes, conscious uncoupling. Yes.
And I remember looking at my laptop and just going, "Oh my, this is it, man. This is life. You have created a platform that helps thousands of people around the world, but there's a challenge up ahead with your name on it. So there's no such thing as figuring life out. And this is why, again, for me, I come back to it's about the experience. I don't know, ladies, what are your thoughts on this? Carolyne, what are your thoughts on this? The challenges are coming, no matter how rich, beautiful, happy, successful, healthy, fulfilled, all this flowery language. There's a challenge up ahead with your name on it.
Exactly. There's a statement I tell my clients, and I tell them that we are never going to get done and we can never get it wrong. And this brings us back to the conversation of purpose. Because before you ask yourself, what is my purpose? Maybe you need to ask yourself, what is the purpose of life itself? Because when you understand the purpose of life, then you can figure out what your purpose is, because you are in the context of life. You're not in a vacuum. You're operating with, it's like a body. Even though the heart has its purpose, it's operating within the purpose of the body.
Yeah.
So what is the purpose of life? And the purpose of life, according to me, is to experience itself. The purpose of life is to expand in terms of the experiences it has. And because life is consciousness. Life is consciousness. So it's expanding consciousness, expanding the state of consciousness. So as a person, as a soul having this human experience, the human experience, therefore, is to bring you to more awareness of who you are. And so by that, it means you're always going to come to a place where you experience your own limiting idea of who you are and the effect of that idea, so that you can expand yourself to a new level and see yourself differently. So every single day, you're going to experience something that should bring you to the awareness of who you think you are and the effect of that limiting idea. Because if you experience yourself as not abundant, that will come out differently. It will come out as, oh, I don't have money, or there are no opportunities, or I have been left, or, whatever that idea is going to show up as today. But the problem is we only look at the experience. We are just looking at the event. And that's why I keep telling people, exactly, tell yourself, always look back at, what is this story telling me about how I see myself? Because that's what this is all about. And I posted the other day that the only crisis there is in the world is an identity crisis. Period.
I love that.
Because the reason anyone is going through anything is because of who they think they are. Whether it's a challenge or whether it's a goal that you have that you think you are not able to achieve in the moment, the core of that is who you think you are. And if you bring every experience to that place, then you'll be able to understand the purpose of life, and you'll be able to put all your challenges in context. Because they are really not challenges just out here challenging you. Like, God is not a sadist, or the universe is not a sadist waiting to see how much you can suffer. No, it's about, let me show you, because you have put out a prayer, you have put out an intention that you want to grow. Whether you have thought, I want to own a big car or whatever, it's an intention out there that I want to grow. I want to expand. And so the universe is preparing you to receive everything that you have asked for. And so the first place it starts to deconstruct who you think you are so that you can expand and accept and allow yourself to receive all your prayers, you know? So that is the role of all the challenges. And that's why we never get done, because we are infinitely expansive.
We're expanding and expanding and expanding. There's so much, there's so many gems you've unleashed there, Carolyne. And it reminds me of a conversation you and I have had in the past. After you've asked for something, whether it's to God, the universe, or whatever, hey, this is a podcast episode even for atheists, right? Put it out there, put a thought out there. The thing that is really interesting is, are you ready and able to receive it though? All those things we say we want. And that's the next limitation. The next limitation you face is, okay, let's say you're struggling in your business. Let's say you're struggling in your marriage. You put out a prayer, you say, or a wish or a thought, whatever you want to call it. And it's, oh my God, I want this marriage to be different. I please God, send me some clients or whatever the case, or customers, whatever the case may be. And then the client comes, or the customer comes, or your spouse starts behaving differently. Are you able to receive it? Because that's the other hurdle so many people face. They are wondering, why is it not working? Why is it not working? And so that's the other thing. Are you ready to receive what you've asked for? I thought I had knocked this on the head a few years ago. Woe unto me. Woe unto me. It still comes up. Like, I'll ask for something, and of course what we ask for gets bigger and bigger and bigger, or more interesting, I should say. Woe unto me, I'm still here questioning. Jane, what are your thoughts on this? We say we want it. We say we want it. But are we ready to receive it? Because, and some of us are very, some of us manifest very quickly. Some of us will say we want something and poof, it will start to appear, but we push it away. What are your thoughts on that, Jane? Because this is all linked to challenges and purpose.
Thank you for the question, Sissy. I think one of the things to also ask ourselves, even as we ask, do we feel we are deserving of what we are asking?
Yep.
Because that's where it is as well. Because when we are asking, not even believing we are going to get it, and then now we keep saying, I'm still waiting on this to happen. I'm still waiting on it to happen. Do you believe you're deserving of it? As we are told to ask and believe you will receive. Do we believe that it will happen? And sometimes we may have a belief of a very short period of time, things start feeling like they're beginning to happen. And then what we have always done in the past, that is doubt sets in, and what happens? Whatever looks like it was going to start happening, stops happening. So I think the question to ask ourselves is, do we feel we are deserving of it, even as we ask for it? Do we believe we can receive it? Are we ready? Even as we are saying, now, for instance, if I am now praying for a partner, I'm here praying for a partner. Have I even emotionally, mentally prepared for a partner to come in? Or will the partner knock on my door and find me not ready? And then we'll hang out for a few minutes or a few days and then leave. And what I'll get to say, you see, this is a challenge. Carolyne, this is a challenge I'm always discussing with you. They never get to stay. You see? The question here we must also ask, even as we are saying about asking, is, do we believe we are deserving of what we are asking for. Again, it comes back to purpose. If we believe that we are meant to experience life, you know, I love children because I learn a lot from them. Children don't come asking mommy or daddy for anything, believing he will say no. And in fact, they will keep asking that question until you get tired and say, okay, I'll get it for you. So for them, they come from that place of they are deserving and they will get what it is they're asking for. Do we believe that we are deserving? This challenge is,
go ahead, Jay.
And these challenges that we go through in life, the way I look at challenges, they're triggers. And what do triggers do for me? It's an opportunity for self-examination. They trigger something in me and I need to self-examine what is really going on in my life. That challenge, really, if we stop and check, there was some lesson it was bringing. There was something it was meant to expand us in some way.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
But we have to take time and recognize that. A lot of times when we go through a challenge, we fight it, we cry it away, we talk it away, we just do everything away instead of
everything to push it away. We're doing everything
to push it away. Sitting with it. Why am I going through what I'm going through? What meaning have I given this and what can I do different? So again, challenges, if we look at them always as opportunities for self-examination, they will definitely expand who we are and who we are becoming.
And you know, I love what you're saying, Jane, and we've got about 10 minutes left to go before we wrap up this amazing phone call. Some really key things you've said there. You know, with challenges, I would add to what you're saying. Sometimes you don't even have the answer for why is this happening, right? Sometimes you can get a bit lost in the why is this happening? Why is this happening? The point is it's happening. So people can take it a step further. We can take it a step further and just say, okay, this is happening. Let me see what comes out of it. Like there's the sentence I say to myself is, there's something here for me. There's something.
So it's happening. It's happening for me, not to me.
It's happening for me, not to me. And there's something here for me. So for example, with the miscarriage, for example, that event was one of the most profound experiences I had, because it's what helped me get back into my feminine. Because, you know, with pregnancy, whether you see a pregnancy through to the end or whether you lose a baby, you're in your body. So even your mind is scrambling, like, what do we do here? What do we do here? The body's like, nothing. This is my realm now. And a lot of us are not even in our bodies. So it's always quite shocking when either you get sick or something body related happens, because we've really placed a lot of priority on the mind. Now, let me just ask this final question, Jane, and it's a challenge to what you're saying. You know how you talk about, do we even deserve?
Yes.
I am of the thinking that even that makes us lose our way, because it's not about deserving. You gave the example of a child. I don't know if children are thinking, I deserve this, I'm going to ask for it. They're just asking because they desire it. They're just asking because they desire it. And for me, what you're saying makes complete sense, and a lot of people understand it that way. For me, what I've realized is even that word deserve got me into trouble, because sometimes I would think, well, maybe I don't deserve. And that's what, for example, made me work harder, because when I work hard, then I'll deserve. And so many of us are doing this. We're working so hard. And then you're looking at, I don't know, Kim Kardashian or whoever, and you're like, Allah, but wait a minute. So I've actually broken the connection between receiving and deserving, because sometimes deserve has nothing, for me, from my experience, what I've seen is sometimes deserve has nothing to do with it.
Mm-hmm.
It's just about whether people are ready, willing, and able to receive.
Mm-hmm.
So, for example, there are so many people who don't have a higher education, who have great jobs and are wealthy.
Mm-hmm.
But then there are people who do have a higher education and they're broke and they're struggling. So that the deserve thing falls apart. Where Hujasoma?
Yeah.
Why are you enjoying your work and blah, 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 and all the rest of that jazz? I'll never forget the conversation I had with a girlfriend of mine about 6 years ago. And it was 6 years ago, I remember, because we were both pregnant at the same time. And she said to me, you know, Cici, she works in the mental health space as well, in Australia. And she said to me, you know, Cici, it's so interesting because I have friends who eat healthy, live healthy, etc., but they're struggling to conceive. And at work, I'm dealing with drug addicts who are on their third pregnancy.
Mm.
So a lot of times it doesn't even make sense because you can look and go, but that junkie doesn't deserve. But there she is, having 3 babies. Carolyne, what are your thoughts on this before we wrap up the call? Receiving, deserving.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yes.
All right. So for me, it's really a subconscious process. That idea of serving and receiving.
Yeah.
But then it comes as a result of what Jane was talking about, the constructs, because the subconscious mind makes conclusions.
Yes.
Again, because of all these things we have allowed to form our belief system, either because we were too young, we didn't have a frontal cortex, so we couldn't rationalize, and we internalized some stuff, and then our mind concluded that, because it's like you're building. I don't know if you've watched these games that kids play called Minecraft. It's like you're building something. So when you internalize this belief, then what does it mean about who you are and what you can accept to receive, and what, it makes a conclusion about so many things. So because that's the gear that's engaged, this is what I think, and this is why I think coaching is very important. You learn how to disengage the gear, almost like go to neutral,
Yeah.
so that you can experience the moment, not from your automatic or default or robotic system that is already so deeply ingrained,
Yes.
so that you can use a fresh set of eyes every moment. Because as you experience the moment in the present moment, what happens is that some of these things get deleted,
Yes.
because you begin now to have a new perspective
Yeah.
that is not tainted by a belief system.
And
Because if, for
older.
example, somebody told you, shut up, you talk too much as a child, then what does that conclusion mean for your whole life, your entire life? You make a conclusion about who you are, and therefore a conclusion about what you deserve because of who you are. So it's not something you think about. But when you experience the present moment, in that very moment that you are in, you have disengaged the gears. And so there is no conversation about deservedness or whatever, as Coach Sisi is saying. You just allow and expand and experience. And then what happens is you allow in abundance in all shapes and formats: emotional abundance, mental abundance, material abundance, because you have disengaged and now you are expanded and present. So I think that's the medicine, really.
Starting
Like, just
from
stay
a
present,
blank.
because if we are to go back and undo the belief structure, it's so hard. Some of these things you can't find them, because
Yeah.
the mind knows how to hide things.
Yep. That's
Yeah, so that's my take on that.
Thank you. Thank you so much, ladies. I know you're very busy people. Thank you so much for your time. But before we go, how can our listeners get in touch with you if they want some coaching or training in their organizations? Jane, how do people reach you?
Okay. They can reach me on My number is 0722 528 762. Let me repeat that, 0722 528 762.
Great. Do you have an email?
Yes, jkatuga@gmail.com. jkatuga@gmail.com.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Jane. Caroline, what about you? There are probably listeners there who want to learn more, work with you more. How can they reach you?
Right. Yeah. So you can reach me on Facebook. My Facebook name is Carolyne Gaidhuma, Carolyne with a Y. I also have a website, carolinegaidhuma.com. And you can also reach me on my number 0721 385870. 0721 385870.
Fantastic. And for those who are listening outside of the country, remember to add +254. We are all based in Kenya, and we coach clients of different nationalities, different backgrounds, both men, women, gay, straight, you name it, which is another reason why I love engaging with Caroline and Jane. As always, I'm Cece, Coach Cece Ojany-Bekhor. You can find me at www.themainprotagonist.com. And you can also find me on social media, Cece Ojany, and on LinkedIn. I love, love, love connecting with people on LinkedIn. Just look for Cece Ojany, CECE OJANY. Ladies, thank you so much for your time, your energy, and your different styles and ways of thinking. I certainly hope this conversation will get people going, that was really interesting. We will have more of these sorts of conversations. The next topic we are tackling is parenting. That is also quite interesting. Jane, any last thoughts before we conclude?
Yes. The journey has just begun for you if you're listening to us for the very first time.
Yeah.
It may sound like it's a lot, but let me tell you, once you start digging into it, yes, you'll find out some of the challenges, some of the things that you've been thinking about, some of the places where you've been stuck. But once you start unveiling that, I can bet you'll be at a better place in terms of things will start working for you rather than things will start working for you, and you'll start feeling like you're dumping things that you don't really need in your life. You owe it to yourself, do it. Thank you.
Yeah. No, that's a really good point you make, Jane, because life becomes quite an adventure when you engage in coaching. That has been certainly the case for me as the coachee and as the coach. Caroline, any last thoughts?
My last thoughts to anyone listening to us is the greatest resource for you to have an amazing experience is your own life.
Yeah.
So please stay present to it. Stay in your life. Breathe in and come back to your life. That's where you need to be.
Yeah. Because it is what it is, right? It's happening as it's happening. So be in that. Thank you so much for those words of wisdom, ladies. For me, I will say to our listeners or anyone who will listen to this in the future, you are not alone. You are not alone. Reach out to a friend you trust with your challenges and with your ideas. Keyword that you trust. Reach out to a therapist. Reach out to a coach. You're not alone. I think that's the most important thing I'd like to say to people. And also, you're not doing anything wrong. Yes, there's some things you'll do that'll make you go, I shouldn't have done that. But that too is helping you expand, as Caroline has said, and helping you just think, as Jane has said as well. Thank you so much for tuning in, everybody. We will be back for the next episode. Please share this with your friends. This is a conversation between three coaches, Jane Katuga, Caroline Gaidhuma, and myself, Coach Ojany-Bekhor. Thank you so much for your time and energy, and we'll see you in the next episode. 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 Episode.